It has always been difficult to teach. I am baffled that most of the teachers never teach by placing themselves in the brain of their students. Yes, I replaced shoes with the word brain because in the case of learning, as we have learned earlier, different people have different four brain quadrant mixes. So what will happen in the classroom is that the teacher will go on lecturing for people who have the same cognitive style or four brain quadrant mix as them. As we discussed earlier, teachers, the syllabus makers, the administrators, and all of the academicians are mostly dominated by the skill brain quadrant or the lower left brain quadrant. I don't need to tell you how the lectures goes on in such a classroom because we all have been through these boring but highly data field discourses. As a teacher, more than ever before, this old habit of pushing through the lecture, assuming that all the students are dominated by the skill brain quadrant, is hitting stronger and stronger resistance with every new generation of students. Somehow, in the earlier generation, students just tolerated this bombardment of procedures, skills, data, figures, definition, terminologies, and so on. However, today's generation has been exposed to more sources of knowledge from YouTube, especially, and even though they don't know it, they have tasted the four brain learning approach. For example, if a student doesn't understand what the teacher is saying in the class and if he cannot relate to the subject, he will go to the internet and there will be a video by a creator somewhere in the world listening to that online class, he will feel that he has understood the subject finally. I know many students who attend the class just to fulfill their attendance, and even during the class, they watch the respective videos as the teacher is teaching. Students today have stopped accepting the old blue quadrant or skill quadrant based teaching. Unfortunately, teachers have no clue. They think that the students are wasting their time on YouTube. Of course, some do, but many of them have found that teachers in different parts of the world are able to explain the same topics taught in the class in a much simpler, effective way. It helps them to understand and even to score high marks in the exams. So, what is it in these videos? One of the most important part of explaining a subject is to explain how it relates to daily life. This is because most of the students have got an active information brain quadrant or red brain quadrant. As we have explained earlier, this is the first brain quadrant that has evolved in Homo sapiens, at least in this make believe evolution theory of cognition in this book. So, as a teacher, like the creators in the YouTube videos, you should give examples of how the topic that you are teaching applies in daily life and how the students can relate to them, how they can observe the topic when they go home. It's not difficult. The problem is that it's not written in the syllabus, and for some reasons, those who wrote the textbook have not given illustrations of daily life examples. Again, this is because I guess they are purely skill based, and they think that it's an insult to seek an understanding of how the topics relate to them in their daily lives. Anyways, you would have to do it yourself as a teacher in your own way based on the nature, society, culture, gender, age, group dynamics of your students. When you teach for the information brain quadrant, you have to be highly customized. You must know your audience, and you must know what is important for them and what is sensitive for them. Even the YouTube video creators that we mentioned earlier don't exactly know this, and they are giving daily life examples on a general basis. Some of the viewers who happen to meet the general profile for which the creator is talking will be highly satisfied, and consequently will be able to learn those topics. However, if the profile of the viewer is strongly mismatched, then there will be a shallow learning. If, as a teacher, you insist on just giving lectures as per the syllabus, you'll soon meet frustration, and your students will eventually vote you out of the class, and if they cannot do that, they'll make your life miserable. However, if you simply embrace your own information brain quadrant as well as those of your students, you will be able to gain popularity as the best teacher in terms of content delivery. That is a great accolade. Is the best reward or award that a teacher can get. It's much more powerful ever than to be the most popular or desired teacher in terms of friendliness. So when you embrace this information brain quadrant, you will realize that the students are not interested in what you are teaching because it just doesn't make sense to them. They just want to know what's in it for them. So you've got to get into their minds, lives, and hearts. Then you've got to look at the subject from their point of view with the various stories that they have in their minds, the various influences in their lives, their favorite TV shows, YouTube channels, celebrities. You even have got to factor in the relationship between the various class students. It could be boy girl relationship in the class. It could also be various groups of students in the class. If there are any conflicts, you should also keep in mind those. The bottom line is the more information you have about the class, the more customized your teaching will be. Let me illustrate with a topic of accounts. The normal teacher will start with the definition of accounts and debit, credit, then he will teach the skills to make entries in the various ledgers. However, this is a purely skill-based approach. The teacher instead should start with an information-based approach. Why don't you start with asking what does it mean to be rich? Now, this is something that everybody's interested in, isn't it? Then slowly link this question to the topic of accounts. Isn't it because of money? Then isn't accounts about keeping record of money? So what does it actually mean to be rich in terms of accounts, which is what it's all about? Does it mean that the person has got a lot of savings, or does it mean that he earns lots of money, or does it mean that he has lots of assets, or could it also mean that he has lots of cash flow? Could someone have lots of money but no cash flow? Could someone be rich with lots of houses but at the same time being in a loss and thus poor on paper? Could someone have lots of cash but actually be in a loss and thus about to reach bankruptcy? Now, by asking these rhetorical questions, the student is now engaged in his study of accounts because he can relate to it. He might conclude that in order for him to be rich, he needs to study accounts. He will need to take into consideration not only his income, but his assets and his cash flow also. How should he go about doing that? Well, he should keep accounts of his own self as well as any business that he would be running in the future. Now, in this example, you see how information brain quadrant is being linked to the skill brain quadrant. At this point, the student becomes interested and is able to look at the skills that he'll be taught from the information he has about life. That will make your life as a teacher much easier, because now you have a proactive student who wants to learn accounts because he wants to be rich. I will not be covering more example of how to link information with the skill brain quadrant in this section, because I'll be talking exhaustively in the upcoming 12 chapters. Yet I just wanted to give you a trailer. Instead, I want to just explain the theory behind the four-brain learning approach, that also of the importance of the consideration of the information brain quadrant in the teaching process. I have been training lots of subjects in my life. In my business, there is no exams that I can use as a boogeyman to scare the students to learn from me. I have basically no job security as a trainer. If the student doesn't like me because he doesn't understand what I'm teaching, then I'll be fired. And I have been fired a few times. But the complaints were not really because they didn't understand what I was trying to teach, but they did not agree what I was trying to teach. You can say that they understood too much. That was again because in those instances, I got carried away and didn't factor in the information brain quadrant of my audience at that particular training program. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the most important approach that I used and that served me very well, get 5-star ratings in my teachings, is my use of the information brain quadrant. You can say an excessive use. First, I ask a dozen questions to the audience to get a profile of its constituents. Then I use this data to help the audience link what I'm going to teach with their own realities based on the earlier survey. I teach subjects like strategy, decision making, customer service, marketing, sales, branding, and so on. These are vague and complex topics. I know many of my competitors who use simple PowerPoints with a textbook approach to them. They cite examples of other countries and other books. They give in the terms, the concepts. They teach like teachers would teach chemistry. But for me, the topic might be the same, but my teachings always differ based on the audience, because their profile will always change. And if I have to cater to the information brain quadrant of theirs, then I've got to highly customize the content. Alas, this book is not about my training career, and it's not a guidebook for trainers. So I will limit my recounting of my exploits here. All I want to say is that my success as a trainer, motivator, and counselor was because I have a highly developed information brain quadrant, and more so the ability to link information quadrant with the skill brain quadrant. I don't know how it occurred. I think it's by birth. Even as a student, I could so easily translate the skills that were imparted to me by teachers in the class to the daily life. For example, in biology, there was a topic called aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. In the earlier one, there is enough oxygen, and then energy is produced along with carbon dioxide. However, in the later process, there is not enough oxygen, and the glucose is broken down to produce energy, as well as lactic acid along with CO2. Now, most students wouldn't bother about this and they'll just memorize it. By the way, I had learned this when I was in class 8. I still remember that class. This is because I was able to link that data with the fact that when I was exercising heavily, I used to feel pain in my legs. You all have felt that, I'm sure. That pain in the muscles after heavy exercise usually lasts for 4 days. Before studying this topic, I had no clue what it was, although I knew that it was related to heavy exercise. But later on, I was able to link that pain to the formation of lactic acid due to anaerobic respiration. It had to happen because when I do heavy exercise, I might not be able to breathe properly. So voila, it made total sense. Now, I'm not sure if a doctor would agree that the pain in my legs after heavy exercise was the effect of the formation of lactic acid, but to me it made total sense. In this way, I was able to link data to a real life phenomenon. I have done this innumerable times, so I will again limit the example in this category at this one. So, what I'm trying to say in this section is that as a teacher, make sure that you use this particular step of information brain quadrant and finding the use of the topic that you are teaching in day-to-day life of the students. Then, as a student, if the teacher doesn't do this particular four-brain approach task of linking what he's teaching to the information brain quadrant, you can do it yourself. Before there was no YouTube, but now there is YouTube. Do a search on the daily use or application of the topic that you are not able to understand or you are not able to find interest in. There will be many hits, and among them, there will be a creator who would be talking exactly to you because his brain quadrant mix matches yours. Then, after you do that enough times, you will develop that link between the two lower brain quadrants, the left one and the right one. Eventually, you will be able to look around and find a use of whatever you are studying, like I have been doing throughout my life. It's a beautiful world that I would not give up for anybody, for anything. It's like seeing beauty everywhere. It's like everything smells so beautiful. It's like everything feels so wonderful. It's just an amazing feeling to look everywhere around and see that whatever you are being taught is just a representation of what's happening around you. It's an amazing feeling of awe. So, both as a student and as a teacher, I highly encourage you to develop this information brain quadrant.